Let's move on to another breaking news, this time from Southampton. Latest news coming in, Jadega-Anderson and the England camp, they've arrived for the ICC hearing on this altercation with Ravindra Jadeja in the first test. Headlines today has exclusive footage of Anderson entering the hotel. Anderson has been charged with a level 3 offence for allegedly pushing Ravindra Jadeja on the second day of the first test at Nottingham. Meanwhile, Stuart Broad was also seen entering the hotel. Remember, Broad is one of the witnesses to support Anderson's case after Anderson denied the charges upon him. The ICC will later be hearing Ravindra Jadeja's appeal too, after he was fined 50% of his match fee.
It's the day of reckoning for English pacer James Anderson. The Judicial Commission will soon begin its proceedings in the matter of the Jadega-Anderson incident, where right now outside the team hotel, this is where James Anderson was seen entering just moments ago, 1 hour prior to the hearing start. Of course, it's a big day for James Anderson. He'll know his fate today. Level 3 charge against him for pushing and shoving Ravindra Jadeja and abusing him. The Indians have also filed an appeal against the fine against Jadeja. Both these matters will come up for hearing today. The Indian team very confident that they can not only get the fine against Jadeja completely removed or at least reduced considerably, but also that they'll get a favourable verdict against James Anderson. This is exactly the spot where James Anderson was seen entering just moments ago, preparing for the hearing, preparing for Judgment Day. Really, it's a big day for the English team, because if James Anderson is indeed found guilty of the level 3 charge, he could get as many as 8 points and could miss the next 2 test matches in the series left. That will be a big blow to England and a big advantage for India. Of course, he will have the right to appeal, but that remains to be seen. James Anderson entering the team hotel just before the hearing. The Indian camp has been preparing a lot for this hearing as well, and both sides will be packed with their strategies as they enter the hearing room, which is going to be held via video conferencing. With camera person Kashif Siddiqui in Southampton, this is Shivani Gupta for Headlines Today.
All right, going straight to my colleague Shivani Gupta. She's joining me from Southampton. Shivani, the Judgment Day is here. You were witness to the scenes when James Anderson was walking inside of that building. The hearing about to begin any moment now. What was his demeanor like?
Well, actually, it was quite interesting to see him walking. You know, if you weren't paying a lot of attention, you would perhaps not even realize that this is an English hero walking past. He was very quiet and very solemn, if I can say, in his demeanor. Perhaps he understands that he could miss the next 2 test matches. Like I said, he has the right to appeal. But the situation right now, it seems, is stocked heavily against James Anderson. He was alone when he entered the hotel. And just walked by quietly without any fuss. There was nobody around him, nobody with him. The rest of the team members like Stuart Broad, Matt Pryor, the team coach, they came separately in a bunch. They are the witnesses in the hearing. But James Anderson looked a little solemn, looked a little circumspect on the morning of the hearing as we saw him walking by and entering the team hotel, because he perhaps feel the odds are not in favor of him. The fact that India won the right to appeal the Jadeja fine, and the fact that they've leveled a level 3 charge and have stuck to their guns literally in this matter, perhaps the odds not in favor of Anderson. If he gets even a couple of points, 4 points, half of what he could get, even then he could miss at least one of the remaining 2 test matches, and that would be a huge blow, not just for James Anderson himself, because he's been known to have a hot temper and known to get into imbroglios that he shouldn't really be getting into. And also for the English team, it'd be a huge blow, because James Anderson is their main man right now in the
Absolutely,
series.
Shivani, hang on for a moment. Let me also get a perspective from our consulting editor, Boria Majumdar. He also joins me right now. Boria, as Shivani is saying, odds clearly stacked against James Anderson, and if the verdict goes against him, it'll be another big blow for England, because I believe the series is now 1-1, isn't it?
Absolutely, there is no doubt about it. I mean, it's 1-1 and James Anderson is their talisman. I mean, and talisman by a distance. If you see that, I mean, my colleague Shivani was there at 7:30. That's when James Anderson entered. You don't expect them to come at 7:30 in the morning. It's 8:30 now in England. 7:30, you come for a hearing which is supposed to start at 9 a.m. Now, that is quite interesting because obviously that tells you you're nervous, you are circumspect, you are apprehensive, you are rather, how do I put it, jittery that you will actually be at the wrong side of it. You know something is amiss. You know the Indians are sticking to their guns. You know the Indians have prepared themselves well. And you may well find yourself in the thick of it and get a ban. That is why you see James Anderson in those visuals, which are exclusive to Headlines Today, brought by my colleague Shivani Gupta, at 7:30 a.m. Very interesting, 1.5 hours before the hearing, the English are all there. Obviously, they've consulted their judicial team as well. But the fact is, if I understand right, having spoken to the Indian team management extensively over the last day or two, they feel that the fact that they've won the right to appeal for Jadeja, England is clearly in the docks. They feel the fact that the ICC recognizes their stand means it will be a verdict against Anderson.
Right. Now, Shivani, there's another angle that we've been exploring since morning, and that is of that video that apparently the Indian camp has in its possession, a video that goes on to implicate James Anderson in this entire Slanderson saga. Give us more details. You also spoke to BCCI's interim chief as well about this.
Yes, I spoke to the interim president, Shivlal Yadav. I spoke to him and I put this direct question to him. Do you have any footage that implicates James Anderson or at least relieves Jadeja of any blame? He wasn't very forthcoming with it. He said, if there is any, I haven't seen it. I'm not aware of it. That's exactly what MS Dhoni, the Indian captain, also said when the question was posed to him yesterday after the loss in the press conference. But the perspective that I'm gaining on the video is that there were questions being raised on why there was no video available through CCTV cameras. Now, the point here is that the incident really didn't happen in the area where CCTV cameras were operational. It happened in a small alley, before the stairs leading up to the dressing room in Trent Bridge. There's no CCTV camera there. But there was a camera there that is sometimes used, sometimes not used. Maybe used for certain domestic matches, was certainly used for the Ashes when Australia was here.
Okay.
But it wasn't in operation during the India series. That's what I'm hearing the latest. And it seems that that is why there is no footage at all during this test match, the first test match, at least of that alley, of that passageway.
Right.
But if the Indians have managed to get any footage additional to what the broadcaster footage had, showing Anderson and Jadeja exchanging words, Dhoni getting into the middle of it, if they have any footage at all that shows anything that happened before or after the incident as well, that could really help them. So far, they're not confirming whether they have any video footage at all.
Shivani, I'll come back to you in just a bit with what the lawyers really spoke to the Indian camp yesterday when they had a meeting on the eve of this hearing that we will be knowing about in a short while from now. Boria, coming to you, we have two men over here, Ravindra Jadeja, who's already been charged, and Anderson. These exclusive visuals clearly go on to show that perhaps the England camp on the whole is so nervous before this hearing, perhaps a good chance that Anderson might be fined. Now, what are the what is the fine that we're looking at over here? Can you tell us how many matches he could miss?
See, you're looking at a ban. Make no mistake that he will appeal. Let's put it very simply for our viewers to understand. It's a level 3 charge. The maximum he can get is 2 or 4 test matches. Even if he is banned for 2 test matches, he will have the right to appeal. And even if he does appeal, if it's a ban of 2 test matches, the ban can at best be reduced to 1, so he misses 1. Even if he misses 1 test match, it's a huge blow for England because he's their main bowler. And the England camp is visibly nervous. If you listen to commentary here, if you listen to the experts here, from what I understand, the experts have already started talking about if Anderson misses out, who plays. So there is a real conjecture going on as to who replaces Anderson. The Indian team management on conditions of anonymity even told me that they overheard the English coach discussing with a number of former players yesterday evening that if Anderson misses out today and gets a ban, what is the replacement strategy? So the Indians are very much confident that they can pull this one off. They have evidence. I mean, like Shivani was saying, while they're not confirming on record, the management tells me that Trent Bridge authorities have helped.
Okay.
Because they are very, very confident that they can clinch this one. Whether or not they can, we will have to wait and see. But at this point in time, if you ask me, 70-30 India, odds stacked against Anderson. Jadeja fine will be reduced or completely revoked, and Anderson will get a ban.
All right, so it's going to be a win-win for India in that sense. Nikhil Chopra, former cricketer, also joins me over the telephone line. Nikhil, you heard Boria and Shivani both over there. We have exclusive pictures of Anderson walking in for that hearing an hour and a half earlier. So also, his demeanor looking very nervous kinds. What do you make of the developments? Of course, we're waiting for the verdict right now, but things not looking too upbeat for England.
Well, not at all. And ever since Team India has gone out and actually appealed even Ravindra Jadeja's fine, this just goes to show if there's evidence, we've got CCTV footage, that just goes to prove that it was James Anderson who pushed Jadeja, then of course, make no mistake about it, he'll be severely dealt with. But the verdict will not come out today by itself. I have a feeling the Judicial Commissioner, after hearing all parties, will take a day or two and then come out with the verdict.
All right, hang on with us. Let me once again go back to my colleague Shivani joining me from Southampton. Shivani, what more inputs are coming on along?
Well, the hearing is just about to begin, Sana. So all players, they've discussed their strategies. You were mentioning that team briefing that the Indian team had on the eve of the hearing. What we hear is that the onus of speaking and making the case, of course, will be with Sridhar, MV Sridhar, who's been brought in for this hearing, and with Dhoni and Gautam Gambhir, who are the two witnesses. Jadeja having a slight issue with expressing himself in English, might not talk a lot, but the others might do the talking for him. And Dhoni, we've seen, he's been absolutely not mincing any words in this. He's not generally a captain who says a lot openly in the media, but when it comes to this case, he has repeatedly narrated the entire incident, and he feels so strongly that his player did absolutely nothing wrong. Perhaps because he was in the middle of it, he feels even more strongly about it. But I just want to take forward the point that Boria was mentioning about losing James Anderson and just how nervous the English camp would be about this. I was speaking to former England captain Nasser Hussain yesterday after the victory. Yes, they've come back into the test series. It's 1-1 now. Effectively a 2-match series left in this one, in this Grudge series, so as to say, and quite aptly. But Nasser made the point that, see, if England lose Anderson even for one match, there is no replacement for him. That's how Nasser Hussain put it. There is no one you can bring in who can quite replace James Anderson. So it's going to be a massive, massive blow for the English team. No one can match up to him. He's their main person. There's nobody even on the bench who can come close to him or even come in to fill his role. Even though India is missing Ishant Sharma, our hero from Lords, if England go on to miss James Anderson, Nasser Hussain believes it's going to be favours heavily tilted in favour of India for the next 2 test matches. Of course, we have to wait and see how many matches he misses, if at all, and whether it's going to be 1, it's going to be 2, whether it's going to be the next one and the 5th one, or just the 5th one, because he's going to appeal. We don't really know the time frame. The appeal could take some time, and maybe he could play the 4th one. But as it looks like now, he's set to miss at least 1 match of the remaining 2. That's the feeling we get here from here.
Let me clarify this one query really that emerges out of all this. Now, if a verdict goes against Anderson, Nikhil, I'm coming to you with this. Are we looking at an immediate ban, even if we are given to understand that he does appeal against the verdict? But is he going to face a ban in this next test immediately, or it could extend to the next one, perhaps England having a chance to get their things in order, even though we've just heard that there is no replacement really for Anderson?
I have a feeling, as my understanding, even if he's found guilty and he's been slapped with a match suspension, 2-game suspension or 3-game suspension, once the player appeals, he has the right to play, and the suspension will only come into effect after the appeal has been heard, whether it's been upheld or it's been put down. So I have a feeling that even if things go against James Anderson, there might be a possibility he still can continue playing in the series.
Okay. Boria, coming to you, let's talk about what it'll do to the England team on the whole in case the verdict goes against Anderson. And what could compound things further is if things really work on both counts as far as India is concerned, Ravindra Jadeja is concerned, it could be that would be a double dampener for the England side.
Look, let me put it bluntly. If I understand the situation right, Ravindra Jadeja, either the fine will be completely revoked or it will be reduced to a minimal 10%. So if you really ask me, India has won that one. The fact that they have won the right to appeal, the fact that they have prepared the way they are, and having spoken to the Indian team management at length, I can tell you they are 100% confident that they have won the Ravindra Jadeja case. England went and filed it against them. Either it will be completely revoked, Mahendra Singh Dhoni will be totally vindicated, and rightly so. He has stuck his guns. He has backed his players to the hilt. Coming to the Anderson point, you asked Nikhil about what will happen. He might appeal. Now, the Indians already feel that the ICC has dragged their feet on this and they pushed it to the third test. Now, even if he appeals, the Indians will put enormous pressure that this has to be dealt with within the time frame of this series. So even if he plays test match number 4, he will have to miss test match number 5, because the Indians will say it cannot be that it will be after this series that the ban comes into effect. So one test match ban, even if that happens, will have to be part of this series.